Hey, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show. Friday mornings, we have the chance to check in with Dr. Alex Apostle from the Shelton School District. He's the superintendent, and it's been a week of decisions made. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Jeff. Great to be here with you.
We saw that you had your meeting a couple days back on the 28th where the school board and you guys talked it over and decided to go 100% online for the fall. Talk to me a little bit about how that decision came about. I know that you had the subcommittees and they had been making recommendations, but when it finally came down to the time for the school board and you to make a final decision, how was that discussion?
Well, we spent a lot of time prior to that board meeting and study sessions and meetings with many, many different people to get their opinion. And, reality finally set in terms of the COVID-19 virus. It's very unpredictable. It knows no boundaries. It's very dynamic. And right now across the country and even in our own county, we're seeing increases in the pandemic. So, the subcommittees, over 200 people. I've said this many times and it's accurate. Over 200 people participated at some point in developing the plan to not only support online learning, but to support a hybrid model or a traditional model. And that report is online, 50 some pages long, along with the plan that I recommended and the board approved on Tuesday, July 28th. But it took a lot of time and a lot of thought. And, unfortunately, there's no 100% right answer to the predicament that we're in. But our plan and our work is based on two principles. Number one, and we really mean it in Shelton, is the health and safety of our kids and our families and our staff. That's number one in terms of this whole effort. And number two, the way we described it and the way we're going to move forward with the actual plan of 100% online learning is that there's going to be circumstances and challenges for our families that the school will be arm in arm with those families. And, if people have situations that prohibit them from making this thing work, we're going to jump in and we're going to do everything possible in a safe manner to help them. And my direction to principals has been and will continue to be to reach out, number one, to find out which families, which students need help. And within our power, we're going to do everything we can to make that right. That may mean bringing some of those kids to school in the evening, during the day, and emphasizing safety protocols in terms of wearing masks, in terms of social distancing. But all our schools will be available to do those protocols. But we're not going to let people just hang out there in terms of their situation. We believe that we're moving in the right direction in terms of having 100% online teaching and learning. But, and that's for right now. I mean, things could change and we could go to a hybrid model, and maybe sometime soon we can go to somewhat of a traditional model where all kids are coming back to school in some fashion. But we're going to monitor things very closely. Every 2 weeks, we're going to survey our parents. Every 2 weeks, I'm going to monitor everything to make sure that the online model is the one that we should be using. But at the same time, we're going to be reaching out to our families and making sure that we're doing everything we can to support them. And people have my word on that one. And so, again, my direction to principals and to staff is that we need to reach out and do everything we can to help our parents and connect with our students. And we've got to do much better than we did in the spring. And I believe we have a program now that will be much, much better. And to be quite honest, I have tremendous faith in our staff to do exactly what I've just said.
The program you're talking about is this K-12, educational piece to this. When the teachers are working through this curriculum, it mirrors the online model. Do you know, where will the teachers be in the fall?
Well, that's something we're going to discuss with our unions. Some teachers may feel comfortable using safety protocols to be in the classroom and where they can use technology and so on if they don't have it, or there's a problem with the technology that they use at home. There's no black and white answer to all of these things. Great organizations flex.
Yeah.
And it's not this way or the highway. It's basically, we're going to do whatever it takes for our teachers and for our kids and for our families to make this thing work until something lets up here. But I just want the community to know that this is the safest thing that we could do for our kids and for them and for our staff. When we say that health and safety in Shelton is a number one priority, and I've said that many, many times over the past 5 years, I meant it. And there might be people out there that are very unhappy, but we would be very unhappy if we lost a staff member or a student due to this pandemic.
Yeah,
and that's happening, by the way, all over the country. And this pandemic, again, knows no boundaries.
No.
And so we could be dealing with something much, much worse in a very short period of time. And quite frankly, my recommendation to the board, and I'm very happy the board approved it, is basically saying we're not going to take any chances to have someone die over this pandemic. We're going to do everything we can to stay safe, and yet at the same time be reaching out through online learning and support systems to do the very best we can for our students. We all want to go back to what we knew, but I can tell you, I don't think we're ever going to go back to the traditional model that we experienced 6 months ago.
Right.
The world has changed. Business has changed. Medicine has changed. Schools have changed. It's a different world. And in some ways, it has a silver lining because it's pushing public education into the 21st century. And the way people learn and the way people teach is going to be different. And it must be different to meet the needs of our students in the 21st century. You
mentioned the kind of the numbers in Mason County and across the country. They have, over the last 2 weeks, the numbers coming into the Mason County COVID numbers have really gone up a lot. Do you think that changed any minds about making sure that this was 100% online? I guess the other part of this question would be, if you were to make this decision a few weeks ago when we were seeing just one additional case or two additional case, but over the last so many days, we've seen 20 number days, 12 number days, 14 number days. Do you think that had any thought process with the school board?
Oh, I think so. But, we were always concerned about this pandemic from the get-go. We're talking about people's lives here, young people's lives. And, this is a time when you just can't hurry in and do it and make things happen just because you feel it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to preserve life and the health of our people. And that's exactly what the Shelton School District has done, and we will continue to do. I'm hoping that the virus subsides, and we can move to stage 2, and to some extent maybe stage 3. But until if it stays the way it is right now, people understand this is very dangerous. And some people may have a different perspective and a different philosophy on what's going on politically or otherwise. But as the superintendent of the Shelton School District, I've got to protect our kids. I've got to protect our staff. And when I see science telling me this is happening, I've got to react in a way that preserves our people. So that's where I'm at on that. And I believe I'm absolutely right.
It was kind of really telling to me when I was listening to some teachers or parents from across the country, and it popped up a couple different times, and each time it really kind of startles you into the reality of what's happening. And, people are saying, we don't want to have pages in our yearbook of those we had lost. And when I heard that, a page dedicated to staff and perhaps students, when I heard that, it was it was something I hadn't thought of, and it was quite eye-opening.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. And, we can look over the data and not pay attention to it. But we're not doing that.
Yeah.
I talked to Dr. Stein about our health officer in Mason County, and he supported us 100% to go online. And I figure he knows a lot more than I do in terms of what's going on in the medical world and what's happening with COVID-19. But, and then we had a lot of support.
Yeah.
To be quite frank, we had almost 100% of I would say at least 95% of the people that served on committees that were asked the question, would you support going online? They said absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, again, I feel bad for the situations that our parents are finding themselves in. But what I'm saying is that the school district will work with you. We will come in and do what's necessary to make this thing work for you. We're not just going to say we're going to go online and forget about our parents and the situations and the challenges that they're dealing with. We're there for you. And you're going to see what's going to happen here. In the month of August, this was the ultimate plan anyway. The month of July, we were going to put the plan together. We've done that. Now the month of August and even beyond that, we're going to be fine-tuning the support for our families and fine-tuning online learning. So we're very serious, and we're serious to win this thing. There's no losing. And so I'm going to be tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be having a Zoom meeting with all staff. And we're going to talk about how we approach this new plan. And it's going to be with vigor. And it's going to be with determination and consistency and caring. We need to do our very, very best work right now, every one of us. And so we're going to move forward. There's nothing that's perfect in this world, but together we can do extremely well, and we're going to.
It's going to be a fast month, and there will be deadlines for parents and staff and everybody to get information in, I'm sure. So we'll make sure we get that information to the listeners so they can understand where possible pickups of things may be, Chromebooks
Sure.
and stuff like that. And as we continue to move on, we'll get the word out there. Dr. Alex Apostle from the Shelton School District on Fridays here, checking in with things going on. Good to talk with you, and we will talk next week into August.
Jeff,
and
can I say one thing?
Please, go ahead.
It's very easy right now to be critical and to pick things apart and to stand on the sidelines and again, be critical. But this is not a time for that.
Right.
This is a time for everybody to come together and have empathy for one another and move together to do the very best for our kids. That's what it's all about.
Well said. Well said. Dr. Apostle, be safe, be well, and we'll check in soon.
Thanks, Jeff. Take care.